All right, guys, we are live. This is the Shillan and Duffy show, recapping UFC 299, probably the most stacked card of the year, including UFC 300 that's coming up next month. This is the official recap show on Sherdog.com. Before I introduce my co-host, I will say I want to give you guys a warning. This might be a little different recap than you're used to if you've watched the show before. I am actually jumping on an airplane in I don't know, about 3 hours. I was planning on doing this whole show, and then I forgot about daylight saving time. So screw those farmers screwing me. So I'm a little short on time. So as we're doing this, my family's gonna be getting up out of bed and ready to go. I'm pulling an all nighter, jumping on a plane. I'm actually going to the land where Bo Nickel was born, Texas. We're also, I should say, the land where my co-host lives. That is the great Ben Duffy. Ben, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing pretty well. Had a hell of a card. Got some shit to talk about.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We'll try to get to as many comments as possible. Let's get right to it. Main event: Sean O'Malley took on Marlon Vera. Sean O'Malley defending his title for the first time, trying to avenge his only official loss in MMA. I know some people thought he lost to Poirier, but O'Malley won a unanimous decision, pretty unanimous, pretty one sided, I should say. I gave him all 5 rounds. I think the only round that was even competitive was the fourth. Vera had a little bit of flurry late in the fifth, but actually landed his best punch, the very last punch on the bell. I want to go round by round for this for a second because I felt like each round told a different story. So I kind of wanted your insight. I'll kind of give you my insight on the rounds, and then I'll let you jump in and kind of. So one thing we don't do it. So I'm kind of throwing Ben for a loop here. We never ever. Obviously, it's a live show and it just ended, so we can't really plan too much. But we never plan. Like we just swing it, and whatever I decide we talk about, that's what we're going to talk about. So this is what I decided today. First round, I felt like it was kind of what we expected. I think what everyone kind of really expected. Kind of that free round for O'Malley, where Vera is always a slow starter. Get out early. He was working the body, which I thought was really, really smart because Vera has this granite chin. You can't hurt the chin, but maybe you can hurt the liver. Hurt into the body. It was the round that O'Malley had to win that round. If he didn't win that round, it was going to be a really bad night for him. Nothing really stood out to me because I kind of check the box area. To me, that was like the free bingo square. What are your thoughts on the first round?
I thought Vera, he was relatively competitive in the round, but it gave me very little hope for him over the course of the fight because he did essentially none of the things he would have needed to do to really take O'Malley out of his game. Like if he was going to give us 5 rounds of that, you could fill out my scorecard 50-45 and I'd hand it in right then. And while we did get some surprises later on, they were not enough. So yeah, it was a pretty good precursor to the whole fight. Just if you let O'Malley dictate the range, if you don't march forward on him, and we should have seen it coming because Vera had trouble just 2 fights ago getting past the jab of Corey Sandhagen, and we got someone in O'Malley that's almost as long, faster, and with more power, and if anything, more willing to kill you with just a jab until you force him to do something else. It was discouraging if you were rooting for Marlon Vera, and I mean, I wasn't rooting one way or the other, but I picked O'Malley to win, and I felt pretty comfortable with it after 5.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. I felt the same way after 5 minutes because I thought the same thing. I think Marlon Vera had to press the action, kind of had to make a dogfight. It had to look like O'Malley versus Poirier, which I mean, not a perfect example because O'Malley still won, but that dogfight where he's got to bite down on his mouthpiece. You're going to have to eat some shots. You're going to have to show, hey, I do have this granite chin, but I'm going to make this fight. I'm going to try to slow him down. I thought you should have mixed in some takedown attempts. Vera's a very good grappler. Not a great offensive wrestler or anything like that. Not a good defensive wrestler, but like he's an opportunistic, right? He needed some kind of high pace thing. Sitting back wasn't the case. So I thought, maybe he'll come out more aggressive in the second round. And then to me, that's when the skill set just jumped off the page to me. To me, O'Malley was obviously much faster. We knew that was going to be the case. He was frustrating him with the feints, getting him guessing. I could see Vera getting a little upset. O'Malley was hurting him, as much as you can hurt, Marlon Vera. I was standing me to this, that when I, watching the second round, I started saying, wow, like, already in the second round, I'm saying, wow, Vera's chances of winning is so low, to the point it's like it's either he lands one huge shot or somehow O'Malley gasses himself out, maybe trying to go in for a kill, because he could not go exchange for O'Malley. It was just so one-sided. So that's what I picked up from the second. Did you get anything from the second?
Agree. The gap in skill definitely started to tell there. O'Malley wasn't fully toying with Vera yet, but you could tell he was starting to flow a little bit. I agree with you that Vera was starting to get frustrated. And yeah, I felt even better about having picked O'Malley after 2 rounds.
Yeah, I'm actually at a tweet from Bob Shinson. This guy, he loves to troll, but today, I think he's not trolling on this one. He's saying he threw away multiple opportunities to extend his sequences in round 4. Specifically, yeah, like he needed to open up and throw more combinations instead of one shot. I actually agree with that. That was that's a really good point. So round 3 was the one where I took away the chance of him landing a shot because he couldn't even touch him. It looked like it was, I think it's either Rocky 1 or I think it's Rocky 1, where Rocky has to chase the chicken and he can't catch him. It's like the beginning of the movie when the training first starts and he's too slow and the chicken just getting, and that's what it felt like O'Malley, was just darting around. And every single time Vera stepped forward to throw a combination, O'Malley was nowhere there. And then O'Malley would feint, kind of freeze him, get him on his back foot with the freezing him, and then 1-2 clean 1-2s down. Every time now it's Vera's chance, because Vera's chances kept, the chances of winning kept getting smaller and smaller. He really needed a big shot, which made him load up so much, would have made him even more telegraphed, which gave O'Malley even more of a chance. And so that's kind of what I got in the third round. Did you get anything on the third?
No, completely agree on those. And again, just the smoothness of O'Malley's technique, to the point where I'm watching it and I'm not even the guy with punches flying at my face. And I was missing where O'Malley was switching stances, like mid combo. Just, yeah. And good point from Ant Walker here. Some part of Vera's mind must have thought that the first time he landed a solid leg kick on O'Malley was just going to go down. And I don't know. I can't believe that Jason Perillo would let one of his star pupils go into a fight with nothing but that as his plan. But Vera really didn't have much after that other than marching at him. I was surprised by the lack of any real attempt to bring the fight to the ground, because I agree with you. He's not a great offensive wrestler, but at least trying early on would have given O'Malley something to think about. Now, granted, the fact that he ran into maybe the nastiest knee shot I've ever seen in my life, maybe he was smart not to go for takedowns. I mean, it was round 3, wasn't it, where Vera ran into a knee that would have killed a buffalo, and it didn't even look like it hurt him.
I think it was. Joe Rogan described it as a bat hitting a watermelon, which I don't think is a good analysis. Usually a bat hits a watermelon, the watermelon goes splatter. I think like a bat hitting a basketball. Like ever play like fool around and like throw a bat, like hit a play baseball with a basketball, and it has that like that's what it sounds like. Yeah. Brian Conley says sick hat. You think that's a sick hat? Look at my new hat for Texas. How about that? How about that, bad?
Keith going full heel. Like down here in Texas, only the bad guys wear the black hat, man. Come on. That's got like a skull on the front and everything. Jeez.
Yeah, this is like straight off like Wish. Something. I'm all messed up over here. I'm trying to figure out where I'm at. I keep forgetting when I look at the screen, it's complete opposite. I keep trying to turn it. Why is it going the wrong way? There you go. So that'll be that's only for Texas. So I'll take that off on that. But all right. So the fourth round was Vera's best round. Still a round for O'Malley, in my opinion, and all the judges. Vera started to make it a dogfight. He started, just biting on nothing. And it came to the point where it seemed like he's like, all right, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to get knocked out. And one thing I'll say about that was impressive to me about O'Malley, it was like maybe about 30 seconds when Vera really had moments. And about 2 or 3 exchanges. And I think this is a thing that goes on with O'Malley based on the way he's looked, his build, he's tall, lengthy guys never really get known for being a dog in them. The multiple hair, the smoking the weed, the tattoos, like that's not his personality. He's supposed to be the sniper, not the bite down the mouthpiece. But it's been 2 fights now when guys have had those moments where they bite down on the mouthpiece and try to brawl it out with O'Malley. And O'Malley's more of a dog than he gets credited, because he had moments where he bit down and he didn't wilt. He had like maybe about 15 seconds. We kind of gave 15 to 30 seconds. We gave Vera hope, but then he was right back on the bike, and he was actually kind of pressing the action after that. And he kind of was like, to me, he kind of stole Vera's soul and his hope. Like, oh, that's all you had, and guess what? Now I'm throwing a big combination, and I'm kicking you directly in the gut, and I'm cracking your ribs, and then he starts hitting the better shots. And that was the one. That was the moment, probably about halfway through the 4th round, where I was really impressed with O'Malley.
Completely agree, because, for the first half of the 4th round, Vera was doing what he probably should have done the whole time. It did clearly take O'Malley out of his comfort zone. And considering that we came into this fight off of 5 fights in a row where somebody had to come back to win, I thought, no, there's no way this would go down as one of the most insane cards the UFC has ever put on. Obviously, O'Malley snuffed out that dream by the second half of the 4th round. But yeah, Vera showed some signs of life, did manage to make it interesting. And it is to O'Malley's credit that he snuffed out any thought of the comeback.
I think I have a technical issue. I'm moving things around here. How about this? They say they can't hear me. Hold on. I think I know the issue. Hold on. I'm sorry. How's that?
I know you can't hear me good, but hopefully the listeners can hear me better. Sorry, I'm getting I'm knocking cords out.
All right. You sound good to me. Let us know in the chat if volume is okay.
Yeah. I had this mic plugged into my other computer, which I packed away already. So I have all my stuff like sitting right. I'm like, when I say bye to you, I'm like out the door. Family's in the car. So I'm gonna try to go as much. And what I liked about the 5th round, I wouldn't suggest this going forward if I was a coach of O'Malley, but as a fan of MMA, his corner said, "Hey, dude, you're up 4-0. Like you got this win in the bag. Pop shot move. You don't knock him out."
Literally said you don't have to engage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't do that. He had moments. He hurt Vera. And when he hurt Vera and he stepped back, I said to myself for a second, oh, I wonder if Vera's like baiting him. Like, does it really hurt? Does it matter if you get hurt again? Like, what the hell you down 4-0? I said, oh, I wonder if he's baiting him. Like, he's rope-a-doping him.
Yeah.
And then when O'Malley started throwing like 15 unanswered punches, I'm like, no. He really was hurt. So, yeah, I give him credit. Like, he tried finishing him. I mean, he wasn't able to, but it was really, really impressive showing to me. So that's how I kind of view the 5 fights. I give O'Malley like an A-. I can't give him. He didn't finish the fight, so I can't give him an A. But to me, it's like he got as close as anybody could. I mean,
close as anybody could, and he made Vera look like exactly what he needed to. A badly overmatched fighter who hadn't really earned this title shot and just didn't belong in the cage with him. As silly as it is that he refuses to acknowledge that he lost their first fight, he beat him bad enough here that it would take a lot. It would take a lot for Vera to earn a 3rd fight here. Like, yeah. When he said he beats me that way 1 time out of 10, he fought in a way tonight that made me believe it.
Yeah. So obviously he avenged his loss, and I think it was such a huge moment for him. It was very like we talked about on the pre-fight that, you probably shouldn't give Vera the shot. He kind of was a couple 2 things. 1, right place, right time. 2, the fact that he beat O'Malley. If he didn't beat O'Malley, he wouldn't have got this title shot. Okay, fine. Yeah. That said, like, I wasn't one of these guys saying it was he should be undefeated. It shouldn't count, all the things he said. But that said, he gets to say from now on, he's back in that GSP. When you go over GSP's losses, you have that. Yeah, but he avenged every loss.
Yeah.
So that's what O'Malley's at now. I'm not saying he's going to finish his career like GSP. I'm not saying that. That's where the comparisons end. So don't go too far with that. I know people like to interpret things we say differently than what we're actually saying. But I'm saying like that's the argument. Like everybody I've ever fought, I've beaten them. So that's a huge thing for him. Like we've talked about this a million times. That O in the record, in the loss record, goes so far. It makes you so much better. This guy is O'Malley's a star, and we'll talk about what's next for him in 1 second. O'Malley to me is beyond an MMA star. He's more of a pop culture icon to me. Sure. I think when I all right, so I'm in my 40s. I know you're in your 40s. No, you just turned 50, right?
Shut up.
Yeah, sorry, buddy. Sorry.
Yes.
I said I'm closer to that than my early drinking days. I think of Lady Gaga. Like she's a pretty woman when she doesn't have all that other stuff going on, but part of her persona, why she's part of the personality and the popularity. I'm not saying she's not talented, but I mean,
no,
that all that other stuff, the way she dresses goes along with her popularity, that shock effect. I think about when I was a little kid and the way my parents would talk about Madonna, oh, look at the video she's doing, over the top. I'm sure the generation before that was talking about Elvis and they were all the flower people and all that. There's and that's what he has going. O'Malley will never be a 60-year-old man's favorite fighter.
I mean, not until maybe when he's 60, this generation will look back. But no, completely agreed.
Yeah. But that's part of the whole package. That's what's great about him. He has this shock effect. He's gonna dye his hair multiple colors because he wants people to be like, oh, what a goofball this guy is. He wants your wife to say, look at Ronald McDonald and all this stuff. So do use that. I'm not. The UFC is doing a great job doing that, but now you add, he's got the gold with him. He's had the title fight. He's defended it. He's, won back-to-back main events, back-to-back pay-per-view main events. He's avenged his loss. To me, everything is going perfectly well. It's when you start watching a movie and it's a horror movie or something, and everything's, the kids are laughing and they're having the best summer of their life and they're surfing. But Jason's coming around the corner, and that Jason is freaking Marab. Everything's going great, but oh shit.
I mean, how terrifying is Marab that when they asked O'Malley what he wanted next, he's like, I ought to go up and fight Ilia Topuria. And I don't think you should ask for any of that either, but that's saying a lot right there.
Yeah. No, I exactly what I said. I said, because you think about this for a second. Ilia could out-wrestle O'Malley. Ilia could absolutely starch O'Malley. But Ilia is also the one more likely to stand his ground and slug it out with O'Malley and gives O'Malley a better chance of winning.
Yeah, if Ilia decides to stand and trade with O'Malley, there's a chance that he loses every round until he finds something to knock him out, and if he doesn't, then he ends up losing the fight. There's that possibility.
It's he's walking in a cage, and he's like, yeah, you can fight that tiger, you can fight that lion, and you're like, sizing him up, and I'll go, oh, that lion's 700 pounds, and that tiger's 900 pounds. Yeah, I guess I'll take the lion.
I guess. Having said that, stuff I saw tonight from O'Malley makes me feel better about his chances against Marab. And I'm not done a ton of, tape study going towards that fight, but things we talked about, just the fact that O'Malley didn't flinch or back down when Vera did finally manage to make it ugly, because Marab is going to have to make it ugly. Oh, he's an incredible wrestler, but he's a wild, sloppy, high-volume striker that really uses his striking to create chaos. I don't think O'Malley is scared of that chaos, especially from a guy in Marab that has less one-shot power than Vera. There's every chance that Marab could just take him down, rinse and repeat, and mop him up that way and to the boos of the crowd. But the idea that wrestling threat would really drive his striking success against O'Malley, I don't feel that way as much about it anymore. Just because,
Really? Wow.
I mean, not as
You-
much. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll be
okay.
previewing that fight sometime this year, but it gave me pause because
Yeah.
if you'd asked me a week ago, I would have said O'Malley wants no part of Merab. Merab washes him 50-45. Now I'm like, you know what? Merab's going to have to do some work to get the fight where he wants it.
Yeah.
That's all I'd say.
Yeah. Before we get a little more deeper into that, the Taporia call up was that silly? Like if you're on the UFC, you're not doing that matchup, right?
Extremely silly.
Like you've had a champion in the division at featherweight for such a long time. You've been waiting for a new face. You get a new face. Like all the opportunities in the division is opened up now. Like you're not going to go that. So you got a brand new champion at 145, fairly new champion at 135. I'm not doing that matchup. Is Merab the only option at 135? I mean, is there an argument for Corey Sandhagen, who also trashed Marlon Vera, or is it no brainer? It's Merab.
To me, no brainer. It's Merab. He's on a ridiculous win streak in the UFC. Like it would be insulting.
Yeah, I mean, there's something. Obviously, he didn't get a title shot because of his friendship with Aljamain Sterling, who was the champion for a long time. Their refusal to fight each other, but also the thing that helps Merab is the way Sandhagen won his last match. Now he's in. I know he's healthy again, training again. He's got the injury, but the way he won his last fight, because he was injured, it was like a snooze fest. Like I don't want to say like he wrestled himself to a victory, because I mean, who does that more than Merab? But what Merab does is so much more exciting than what Sandhagen did in his last fight. Generally speaking, Sandhagen can be really exciting, but his last fight, that doesn't help him. If I was the UFC, I would do any matchup at 135 I could if there was somebody else. If there was anybody else, I would do it. But there really isn't. Like there's nobody who has like an argument where it's obvious that you're not protecting your champion. Like you could make them like you could have. I know some people are already arguing that hey, Merab should have got this shot instead of Marlon Vera, but like Marlon won the same night. There was a little backstory. Like you had that opportunity to slide somebody else in. Now there's no argument. Like it's Merab or you're protecting your guy.
Yeah, completely agree there. And again, even if someone at the UFC hates Merab and wants him never to get it, there's no better time than this. There's nobody that he's going to have this kind of sizzle against. All you need to do is pull up that little shot of him like parading around the cage in O'Malley's jacket last year. Like if you think a Merab fight buildup is going to be boring, wait until it's against someone other than O'Malley.
Yeah.
So just do it now. Strike while the iron is less ice cold. Real quick, got to give a shout out. I think this card ended late enough that we're not going to see Marcel Dorff, but I got to say, Dane Fox, longtime contributor of Bloody Elbow, has been all over the chat tonight. I think it's the first time we've seen you here. You've been on Sherdog Radio Network previews, I know, back in the day. So very good to see you here.
Yeah, Dane's the man. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling through it. I didn't know. Yeah, Dane is the man. One of my favorite people in the industry. Really extremely knowledgeable. Extremely knowledgeable. Great predictions. Check out his stuff. He's really good. I want to address. There was one guy. I already took his comment off. He said people are hating on Sean. I hope he's not talking about us, because we both picked Sean to win, and we just spent the last 28 minutes or so gushing over his performance. So I hope he's not saying where. That said, I'm going to give you two statements. You tell me, do you agree with either statement? Okay. Statement number one, they're going to be two opposites. Statement number one, Merab is the worst stylistic matchup in the top 5 for Sean O'Malley. That's statement number one. Statement number two, O'Malley has the best chance of beating Merab of anybody in the division. Anybody in the top 5, we'll say.
There's a man who inserts himself into the discussion of both of those questions. His name is Umar Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, I don't think he's in the top 5. That's why I said that.
Yeah.
I think I worded that. I think.
Yeah, like aside from that, I do think Merab is a terrible style matchup for O'Malley, even if I don't think it's quite as horrible as I did an hour ago. And yeah, but I do think he has the best chance of beating him.
Yeah,
of anyone currently in the top 5.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping you think I was taking them as two opposite, like you have to pick a side. Because I was gonna say, actually, I think both are true. I think Merab is a horrendous of everybody in the top 5. I think he's the worst stylistic matchup for Sean O'Malley. That said, of the guys in the top 5, I give him O'Malley the best chance of beating him because, I mean, the pace of Merab is not going to sit back like you had Marlon Vera in the first round. Like, he'll never do that. He's never going to sit back and just let you pot shot him and not do anything. He's going to press the action. He's going to come forward. He's going to throw big haymakers. He's going to be shooting on your hips nonstop. That said, the way you beat Merab, and I mean, it's been a really long time since we've seen it, but what we've seen, in my opinion, the best way of beating him is just connecting on a shot when he's coming in. Well, who has the best chance of doing that? Who's got the best chance of landing one shot and putting him out?
Yeah.
Because to me, you really got to get a couple of shots off before he's on your hips.
Dude,
so yeah,
against most humans on the planet, that flush knee that O'Malley landed on Vera would have been our knockout of the year.
Oh yeah.
Most 135 pounders would have been out dead. We'd be seeing x-rays from the hospital 2 hours from now where they like his face went full stage north cut, like 15 breaks on his cheekbone. It's just that it is Marlon Vera and his fucking Santos. Cement head. Yeah. We have the MVP on Cyborg Santos thing, and knockout of the year would be sewn up the second weekend in March. So a lot of people thinking, oh, I'll just dive in and take O'Malley down right away. Need to watch that and decide if you really want that for breakfast.
Yeah. It's going to be really fun. I'm assuming even though O'Malley has looked really, I'm assuming Merab is going to be a pretty big favorite, probably like a 2-1 favorite.
I think it'll be a little tighter than that.
So you're more on the O'Malley's. Like you've really, I mean, we both picked O'Malley. I told you before, he's one of my favorite tape studies. You're way more confident in O'Malley than I am. And I like O'Malley. I'm an O'Malley guy.
Now keep in mind, I'm still right now, I'm still picking Merab to beat O'Malley if that's the next fight. And I still think Merab will be the favorite, but I just feel closer about both than I did an hour ago. That's all I'd really say about it.
Let's move over to Poirier. I'm sorry. I just gave you my Marlon Vera. I'm going to put him against Poirier next. The two guys kind of, top 10 guys. They haven't faced each other. I'd make it like a main event of a fight night or, main card of a pay-per-view or something like that.
I like that. I like that as well as any of mine. I was just going to give him one of the guys that's on a 5-fight or more win streak and use Vera to build him. I was thinking Jonathan Martinez, Mario Bautista, Umar Nurmagomedov. But I like Jan just as well. And that is a fight night main event quality fight right there. Vera versus Jan, 5 rounds. Hell yeah, give it to me.
All right, let's move on. I'm running out of time. Before that, Dustin Poirier took on, I'd say, I don't want to say UFC newcomer, but like to the top of the roster, top of the card, top of pay-per-views, newcomer Benoit Saint Denis. Dustin Poirier, the Diamond, showed that he still has some left in the tank, winning by second round knockout. Even though it was a 5-round fight, he said he didn't need it. He could have won it in under the 3 rounds that most non-title fights. Wow, what this fight was fun as hell.
It sure was.
Shout out to John Anik, who I'm 100% is convinced that he used my tweet on air as his notes and didn't give me credit, because I'm 100% convinced by that. So no one can say otherwise. I'll get to that in 1 second. But Saint Denis, to his credit, like he wasn't starstruck. Like you got these guys when they first come in, you're facing. He wasn't starstruck. He was going after Poirier. He had no respect for him. He was walking through his offense. He was landing shots. He was getting to his entries. He was creating scrambles. He was looking really good. He had his back a couple times, almost had some submissions. I was thinking like, oh my God, is this like the end of Dustin Poirier? Until Dustin Poirier reminded us all that power is the great equalizer and knocked him dead. Tell me what you think.
I think now, fantastic win for Dustin Poirier. Taking nothing away from that. Like, what a win. And it's a win that I have the feeling is probably going to age real well. Having said that, this fight offered the best and the worst of what Dustin Poirier does habitually. I mean, 4 times he jumped guard with a guillotine. 4 times it got him in trouble. Like, and I know he addressed it directly in his post-fight interview, which, I mean, at least he's aware. But
Yeah.
and as much as the UFC booth tried to paint it as a good thing, oh, he's got a great guillotine, it's the worst thing he does habitually. But then the end of the fight, he is just not the guy you want to trade toe-to-toe with. Maybe he's slowed, but he hasn't slowed enough that that's a safe place because, again, he's going to slip your best shot. He's going to come back with something that's just perfectly tight, just anywhere from, like the edge of boxing range to like chest to chest. He's going to catch you on the chin. Monster power. Yeah. And we're talking about Benoit Saint Denis, a guy that spent 15 minutes as a heavy bag for Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos, one of the nastier offensive welterweights in the division, and like was not knocked out like that. Dustin Poirier, one clean shot. Just
I mean, that shot that he landed though was, I mean, Joe Rogan likes to, hyperbole, John Anik, they like to do hyperbole. I mean, I get it. Like, but it was one of the cleanest punches you've seen. Like, that's going to be on the highlight reels forever. It was a beautiful shot. I mean, that would knock out a friggin' hippopotamus or something. I mean, it was beautiful. So the tweet I was talking about, you kind of touched on it, was the when DC said, DC and Joe Rogan at both points go, man, he's got a really good guillotine. And I tweeted out, like, really? Because he's had 38 professional fights. He hasn't got a submission one time with a guillotine. And like 5 or 6 minutes later, John Anik basically reads my quote word for word. I'm 100%. John, I love you, dude. We're both Bostonian people. Come on, dude. At least give me credit next time. Just said, oh, I checked my notes. Yeah, sure. All right, you freaking asshole. Anyways, you could have said, oh, Keith Shillan for the Shillan and Duffy show. They have a live recap show right afterward. Make sure you check that out. So this was a great moment for Dustin Poirier. I know a lot of people in the chat are saying, Saint Denis is not going to be able to recover that. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. People have been counted out. They've come back. I'm still worried about Poirier moving forward. Based on what I seen in the cage. The amount of shots that got landed on him. I do think he's slowing down. Defensive wrestling has always been an issue. His fight IQ has never been the best. I still think it's time to fade Dustin Poirier. And that's not like all the people who love Dustin Poirier, and I love Dustin Poirier. I mean, who's a better dude than that guy? I still not feeling very confident about moving forward.
Neither am I. It was an incredible knockout. It was an incredible comeback, but it doesn't erase the fact that he was getting washed.
Yeah.
He was getting washed up to the last 10 seconds of that fight. Like, not only was like he was losing the stand up, he was definitely losing on the ground. If anything, if you paused it right before he got up, I would have said Saint Denis finishes this thing in the next 6 or 7 minutes. Again, power's a great equalizer, but if Poirier is reduced to the point where that's his only shot at victory against fighters who are just barely entering the top 10, his days definitely are numbered.
Yeah. So one thing I'll say about Dustin Poirier that I give him a lot of credit for, other guys, I think when there was moments, the way he was, Saint Denis was pressing the action on the gas, going like 900 miles an hour after him, a lot of guys would have wilted under the pressure. Poirier didn't do that. He has this like unbelievable mental strength. We've seen it in fight after fight. I think about the comebacks in wars. I always think about that when he needed the late rounds against Max Holloway and their matchup, or Eddie Alvarez fight, or Michael Chandler fight, where it was back and forth wars. Like, there's something in him when it gets hard, he won't fade. I think or won't fold mentally. I think that's what happened here. Why he's able to win that moment. He still believes in himself. Other guys would have wilted. So it's tough. I had a really hard time matchmaking Dustin Poirier. I'd be interested to see yours. Mine's a little bit out of the box. But what would you do with Dustin Poirier next?
I'm gonna get killed for this, but I think you give him a title shot next.
Yeah. So no be no. I mean, like, so he skips over Gaethje and Holloway winner. He skips over Oliveira and Sarukian winner. Yeah, fuck it, do it.
I
I'm not
I
mad.
I think you make it while you can. You've got one, like, this was a great late career win by a guy that looks like he's on the slide. Like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't favor him against Makhachev. I'm not. My job isn't trying to build a fighter in a lab to defeat Islam Makhachev, as Joe Rogan would say.
Yeah.
My job is to maintain some semblance of competitive legitimacy while putting butts in seats.
Yeah. I agree with you. So I'm kind of going a similar route. I'm not going title fight. But I kind of feel the same way. Like when you have a guy and he's a big name and obviously he wins over Connor and wars and everybody knows Dustin Poirier. I do think you put him in a big matchup. I think we have two guys that look like they could be faded. And I'm going to go with my boy Dev, who keeps saying the same name. I think the winner for both these guys are really short. So do it now. I have him move up to welterweight. I know he's a smaller guy, but for having fight a smaller welterweight, I'm talking about Colby Covington. There's history there.
There's history
to do that matchup. The only other matchup I thought of, and he's not in the UFC, but if you can make that Nate Diaz fight, I mean, they were supposed to fight, never happened. If you can get Nate to come back in, fight Poirier, those I want a big name. So yeah, I might not give him the title shot, but I'm not putting him against a Saint Denis type. I'm not having facing the new guy on the block. Like, I feel like you were fortunate enough he didn't lose tonight, but I want to keep rolling those dice.
Yeah, no, don't. Like, you've been given a gift here. Poirier did the Poirier thing. You've been given a gift. Make the most of it. I mean, part of the problem is we've got 3 lightweight fights at UFC 300. Poirier's already fought 4 of the 6 people in those 3 fights. So yeah, like,
yeah,
that's part of the reason
John Buffalo's mentioning that Kobe looked awful in his last fight. He's looked awful against Usman in the second. He's awful a lot. He can sell it when he starts calling, because he'll sell it. It doesn't matter if he's awful. He'll get the good guy Poirier to like what he did with Leon Edwards. Like, Leon Edwards not the trash talker. He wasn't going to fall into any of that. And then he mentioned his dad, and suddenly everyone was like, "Oh my God, he crossed the line." He's gonna do the same thing. He's gonna call Poirier's wife fat or ugly or a slut, or that she was getting banged by Conor McGregor or something, like, whatever. Yeah. Poirier doesn't like me because he found out me and his wife were banging when I was at American Top. Something like that. Just making up something. Your kid is not even your kid. It's little Kobe. Whatever. He'll say some shit like that, and that's gonna sell the fight.
Do you want a job writing material for Colby? Like,
how do you know? How do you know I don't already do it? I already do it. Spoiler. Saint Denis. That division is so loaded. I'm dropping him way down. Put him. Give me Nasrat Haqparast.
I was going to give him one of the losers from the big fights at UFC 300, or like Fiziev or Dariush, a guy like
much higher than me.
Yeah, I'm staying higher than you. Like, I was really impressed with Benoit Saint Denis, and then he ran into a force of nature. Yeah, like, and I still am. Like, Bob Chimpson thinks his chin is gone now. His next couple fights will either bear that out or refute it. But for the time being, I still think he's a guy with top 10 skill and upside, if not more, who just ran into a force of nature. Like, Dustin Poirier is just going to do that to people sometimes. Someone like Fiziev or Dariush that's maybe still in the top 10, definitely been in the top 10 and has had a couple losses, that'd be appropriate as well.
Before that, long-awaited debut, one of the stars of Bellator came over to the UFC. Michael Venom Page took on Kevin Holland. I don't say really good. I mean, it was obviously beating Kevin Holland's a good performance, but I had 30-27 Michael Venom Page. Some people had it 29-28 for Venom Page, given the second round to Holland. How did you score it?
I gave it 30-27 to Page, but I could definitely see the second round being for Holland. Like Holland gets no credit for that. He fought in an extraordinarily dumb fight, but you know,
Yeah.
he may have blundered into you know, a round winning there.
Yeah. So we both picked Michael Venom Page as a consensus underdog pick. It was one of our good picks of the night. I did not have a good night. I picked a lot of underdogs. A lot of them didn't come through. I think Venom Page and Curtis Blades might be the ones that did. So the things that people will be talking about on, at the water cooler on Monday is not what I'm excited about from Michael Venom Page. I knew his striking is off the charts. What I was impressed was his takedown defense. Not that Kevin Holland's a great wrestler, but the takedown defense, his submission defense. Even when he was on bottom and Kevin Holland was landing some big shots on him, he didn't panic. He found a way to kind of get a scramble going, get back up. That, to me, of all things that make me feel so much better about him moving forward. Now, yeah, he might have lost a round, maybe not. Really, he lost about 20 seconds when he made one stupid mistake himself, which is he's always going to do that. That's the way he fights. He's going to do some spinning stuff. He's going to do some wheel kicks. They're never going to change that. It's like Poirier going for guillotines. So he's always going to kind of have that gamble going on. But his overall game, I feel pretty good.
Agreed. Page is much better than I thought he was when I, again, interviewed him like 5 years ago. He turned into a better fighter than I thought he was. He looked like a legit top 15 talent in a tough division to be that. He looks like he could be that. And at 36, he still kind of got it.
I know.
Now, he's not going to make his way to a title shot. There's too much of a gauntlet of truly elite wrestlers between him and that, and time is not on his side.
Yeah.
But I mean, he is ahead of Bilal Muhammad in line now.
Dustin Poirier is ahead of him. He hasn't even changed the division yet.
Yeah, but consider this. Page, as well prepared as he claimed his handlers had him and the UFC had him for this. Nobody told him how slippery the octagon floor is. He slipped and fell twice on non-contact strikes. Once he gets that a little bit under control, he knows to avoid the Stake.com and monster logos. He's really going to start uncorking like the legendary offense.
Yeah. So I agree with what you said about the gauntlet to get to the title shot is tough. It's like the road to the title, I think, is harder than if he fought for the title. Mm-hmm. Which, obviously number one is usually better than number two, number three. And I'm not saying I would favor him over Leon Edwards. I'm saying like the chance of beating Leon Edwards to me, I think is better than the chance of beating number 7, then number 3, then number 1, and then the champion, like in a row. Which is why like guys like Tony Ferguson didn't get the title shot when he went on this crazy run. It's like, yeah, more matches you get him, he's eventually going to lose one. Bilal Muhammad, kind of same situation. Things I like, obviously his striking is off the charts. I mean, he went against a guy who's got a long reach like him, a longer guy. Not many other guys in the division are like built like Kevin Holland. And that's kind of one advantage Michael Page has, is being tall and long and lengthy. So he kind of went against a guy who stylistically that stuff shouldn't, matter or shouldn't have that advantage. What I was most impressed that he made a guy who has complained about people wrestling in the past. I was there when he said, I don't want to wrestle I'll fight anybody, but I don't want to go against wrestlers, turn into a wrestler. Where his only offense was trying to close the distance. To me, that was really impressive. Based on his personality, obviously he's got a huge personality. The entrances, the MVP, the Venom, his style, he's not your guy just making his UFC debut. He's his third fight from the top. Based on his style, his athleticism, but also based on his age. If to me, he doesn't have that Bilal Muhammad. He's got to win 7 fights.
No.
To me, it's like the Michael Chandler, like 1, 2, and you're in the title shot.
It's like Alex Pereira without like some early career kickboxing win over Leon Edwards. Like we're going to try to fast track this dude.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the argument is Britain. If you can get a pay-per-view in Great Britain, that's the argument to make for Page.
Yeah.
He's done. Say he wins his next match. He's 2-0 in the UFC. going to Britain, 2 British stars. Yeah, that's the actual argument. I think there's a lot of really good options for the next one. Yeah, obviously Stephen Thompson's a name that's been thrown out from the very beginning since he came in because of their styles. I think Colby Covington, because his personality is always somebody can get somebody over. Ian Machado Gary is a very fun stylistic matchup. He's got obviously a big personality. I think Kamaru Usman, based on his, if he comes back down to welterweight. That said, it seems like everybody's on page with Stephen Thompson as the next one. Is that super obvious, or do you think there's another route?
I'm down for that one. If the UFC doesn't make that fight while they can, that's a shame. Because the thing is, it's not like Wonder Boy has lost all value as a barometer of how good a fighter is. Yeah, I mean, he's lost 4 of 6, but you look at who he's lost to. He's only losing to top guys. And in between, he's schooled some borderline top 10, top 15 guys. Like, he's schooled people like Jeff Neal and Vicente Luque in fairly recent memory, who are good welterweights and good strikers. Like, so it's not just a gimmick fight.
Yeah, but it is. Yeah, it's a gimmick fight, but like the reason why their match is because of the gimmick. But yeah, the 2 guys that are borderline top 15 guys. I think Brian Conley and you just kind of made the point. Conley jumped right back on it. They're both at the age where, timing on either one of their sides, especially Stephen Thompson. Yeah. Let's do that. Holland, I mean, whatever. He'll fight anybody. I wrote down Randy Brown. Randy Brown, I feel like deserves a name.
That works for me. Or in a couple weeks, Vicente Luque and Joaquin Buckley are fighting. He's already fought Buckley, but he could fight Luque after that. I wouldn't hit that. Yeah.
Before that, it was right after this, but I'll do real quick thoughts on Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the announcer of the UFC Hall of Fame.
Richly deserved. She was a great fighter, and weird as she sometimes was on the whole promotional trail, generally actually a pretty class act. But yeah, an important fighter and a great fighter.
That said, she reminds me of Mike Tyson in the sense of personality, where Mike Tyson is this like lovable hero kind of guy now, and she's like the same way. She's like, and we're talking about how nice she is. But I'm like, you remember Mike Tyson wanted to like bite people's? He bit someone's ear off. He wanted to eat someone's children. He was like this psychopath. That's how it wasn't to that extent, but that's how she fought. She was the bitch. She was, you want a champion, get in your face, mouthing off the Rose Namajunas. I like that one better. We got a whole bunch of nice Karolina Kovacevic smiling people. Like, no, I want that. Like, no, I still want that. Like, bitch.
Yeah, and like just giving Jessica Penne a pasta necklace and giving Carla Esparza like stale cookies because she was Cookie Monster. It was like a combination of a mixed martial arts trash talker and like a 3rd grade bully. It was like really amazing at the time.
Yeah, like the mean girl. So I always think like real quick, we'll move on. But like the Mount Rushmore of women's MMA, like Amanda Nunes is clearly on it. Cyborg's clearly on it. I put Ronda Rousey because of what she's done to, Okay. And it's like, who's the 4th person? It might be Joanna.
It could be like she's fighting that out with Shevchenko and a few others. But yeah, Megumi Fuji. Like if you like,
me and you might be the only ones. Yeah, me and you might be the only ones saying that one. Before that, Gilbert Burns took on Jack Della Maddalena. Jack Della Maddalena with a come from behind win, winning in the 3rd round by TKO. Burns was up on 2 of the judges' scorecards. He was about 90 seconds away from the victory. How do you feel about the performance of Jack Della Maddalena? Because it's obviously a huge name on his biggest name on his record.
I say the same thing I said on the preview, because on the preview I said people gave him shit because he barely beat a lightweight who stepped up on short notice to beat him. If you've won 17 fights in a row, you don't have to apologize for anything. Yes, there are holes in his game. There are things where he's going to have matchup problems with even the Shavkat and Gary types. But if you've won 17 fights in a row, you had to be great. You had to be at least a little lucky. And you had to be able to had to be able to eke out victory on a night that you didn't have your best stuff.
Yeah.
Here, maybe he didn't have his best stuff because it wasn't as dramatic as Poirier versus Saint Denis, but it was a similar vibe where Burns was exposing problems in Della Maddalena's game on the ground. And he got away. He hurt him bad. And credit to Della Maddalena, hit him just with a perfectly timed shot on the separation. He knew that Burns was going to reshoot right away, and he was there to submarine him. Because you know what? If he doesn't hit that one, he loses that fight. So
even running up the wall, even up the cage to create a scramble and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not as old as Poirier. He's not nearly as credentialed or decorated, but the poise, the presence of mind, the composure, it's already there. The guy's a problem. Yeah, like he's never going to get the same credit as a Shavkat Rakhmonov type. He doesn't have the 0 in the L column. He doesn't cut the physical figure. Like Laura Sanko isn't like tripping over herself when she interviews him. Sure. But he's got something, man.
She might be tripping over his nose because it's in the way. It's like in the hallway. She's walking to interview him. Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to that. Like, obviously, the takedown defense tonight was obviously concerning. I'm still obviously impressed with his boxing. His boxing, I think, is special. So, the takedown defense is concerning. But on the flip side, like you said, he found a way to win, and that's huge to me. The stars find ways to win. Like, I always go back to the run that the Chiefs just had to win the Super Bowl. They weren't the best team at any moment of this season, but they found a ways to win because the best players find ways to win. Patrick Mahomes finds ways to win. That's why I'm not comparing him to, I'm not saying he's the Patrick Mahomes of MMA, but he found a way. He called for a fight with Shavkat Rakhmonov, which nobody does. That was not the name I was thinking of. I kind of go through my head, little matchmaking, try to save myself some time. If this guy wins, who I like him, this guy, you know what? No one else is going to call for it. If you're going to make this matchup, if you're the UFC, and I'm cool with it. To me, it's got to be a main event. Give me it as a fight night main event.
Absolutely there with it. I mean, what a matchup. What a man JDM is for even calling for it.
Yeah. Gilbert Burns, on the other hand, I'm going to give him Sean Brady. Like, he showed that he still had enough. He was that close. Some of these younger guys got to keep getting tested by the veterans. Give me Sean Brady. Did you have anybody?
I was thinking Randy Brown, but I don't hate Brady either.
Okay. Before that, Peter Yan took on Song Yadong. Yan, the former champion, won a unanimous decision. I thought it was a really good fight. The only thing I kept thinking of is, damn, we missed out. We should have had 2 more rounds.
I would have loved 2 more rounds. I said Poirier versus Saint Denis is going to need it. Should have made this the 5-round co-main. But here's the thing. This is yet another fight where we needed a comeback. And this is one of the ones where I least expected it. Because after the first round, Petr Yan is a known slow starter. He's a guy that often will take the first round off boxing style, and that's dangerous to do when you only have 3 or 5 rounds as opposed to 12. But this was different. He looked gun shy. He looked like he might have some PTSD from the Merab fight, because anytime Song even just went and kind of reached for his lead leg, it just shut him off for several seconds. For him to turn it around after that and really put it on Song and just be rolling downhill to the point where if there were another round, I think he might have finished him. Really, really impressive stuff from Petr Yan. And short of just blasting Song and destroying him in like 2 minutes, it was the thing he could have done that would most, in my mind, make me think that he's not done as a title contender. But yeah, he looked like he had issues early on. I did not expect him to turn on the jets like he did.
Yeah, I'm sorry if that's my family's getting ready. I don't know if you could hear a hairdryer in the background. I apologize if you can. I think Yan made the right adjustments. So I thought both guys looked good. I thought, obviously Song Yadong won the first round. I liked what he was doing with the feints and kind of getting, especially after the guy struggled with the wrestling, kind of faking, landing the power shots, then going back to the takedowns. So I like that. I like Yan study wrestling himself. when Song Yadong got in the distance, he started popping the jab, beating, Song Yadong was trying to jab a lot, and then Yan responded by like both jabbing at the same time and trusting his jab to land first. I thought that was good. And I mean, his pocket boxing's, off the charts. I think Yadong made one mistake. He was kicking the legs early, and that's always been open because of Jan's really boxing style. Then he abandoned it. He just kept headhunting after that, and I was really surprised that he abandoned the kicks so early. Huge moment in the fight to me. Like, it was pretty even. I had one round each. I think the third round was really even. About 90 seconds left. Yan made an entry. He was in deep, and Song Yadong went over. Instead of like trying to push the head down and kind of getting a scramble, he went for a switch, which is. It looks beautiful when you hit it. It's a gamble though, because you have to when you clear your hips out, you're putting yourself on the ground. It's a gamble. In this case, it didn't work for him, and I think it cost him the fight. That takedown at the last very end probably cost Song Yadong the fight. I already mentioned that I think Yan and Marlon Vera should match just because two guys in the stacked division that face each other. Do you have anybody?
I like that just fine. I would also be fine giving him the winner of Figueiredo and Garbrandt, because the winner, they're
works.
fighting in a couple weeks, and whoever wins that fight, because they are a former champ, the UFC has the option to kind of push them quickly towards a title shot. Yan is another name that they could beat and get there, or it would be a high value win for Yan as well. But I like him against Vera too. Either of those is good.
To me, Song Yadong, I mean, he's had two matches in a row, not in a row, but recently where he's faced the top of the division, Sanhagen and Yan. He just fell behind those guys. He's still super, super young, so I'm not giving up on the guy. But to me, I'm gonna take it another step back. I'm gonna let him give a chance to somebody else. I put him against Montel Jackson.
Oh, I don't hate that at all. I was kind of pointing in the opposite direction, like a guy that was formerly ranked way higher than him and has lost a couple. I was going to put him on the Legends Tour against either Cejudo or Dominic Cruz. But
I wouldn't mind a Cruz matchup because you can still do the alpha male Cruz, the old rivalry, if you want to do that. So Ben, I got probably about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Would you rather us continue going down, or would you want to do the fun stuff at the end? I'll let you pick.
Let's do the fun stuff real quick. Blades and Almeida is the next fight to talk about. One guy got out wrestled real bad the first round, then knocked the guy out in the second round. I mean, we know who won, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll let you. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I'll let you get to that stuff. We can do some of the fun stuff. How about awards? Do we have awards?
Awards.
How about this? As you're looking, I will give what I would say my awards would, assuming it's one fight of the night, 2 performance bonuses. If you give me more, I'll add some more.
It's spoiled. All the finishers got a $50,000 bonus, and then there was a fight of the night.
Fight of the night, Poirier Saint Denis, or is it Wood? Oh, Poirier Saint Denis. Okay, I thought Wood and Morose was a really good one too, but yeah, okay, cool. All right. I'm assuming anytime they give out all the bonuses, I'm never going to complain. So good. Yeah. I'm glad a bunch of people got paid. Ben, I have nobody for the cut list. Do you have anybody for the cut list?
I'm coming real close with CJ Vergara, and I'm coming real close with Iwan Kudalaba, but it's a party, like everybody stays.
I'll tell you why I didn't. I thought about Kudalaba. I'm gonna keep Kudalaba for one reason. The guy's not good. Like I know he won his fight previous to this one, but he's gonna lose. But all his all the shit that goes along with it, he's such a character. Like getting in his opponent's face, he painted himself like the Hulk again. Like he's whatever. He's so lovable.
He is.
All right, let's do dude seriously. I got a couple of dude seriouslys. Do you have any?
Yeah. I mean, I have 2.
All right, go with it.
Okay. We've already talked about it a bit, but Poirier going for 4 guillotines and like fully sold out, wrap up the guillotine, jump guard, so that if it doesn't work, you're on your back. And then the UFC booth being like, oh, he's got a real nasty guillotine. Really nasty to him. And a fight that we will talk about after you are long gone and on your way to DFW. I mean, Josh Parisian was a big underdog against Robelas de Spain, but you could at least make it baseball instead of t-ball. Like you just handed him. Oh,
No. I'll give it him landing punches. He got what was it? 13-second knockout or something like that.
13, 14
or 18. It was something crazy. I think it was 13 seconds. And I looked at his last 4 fights. That was the longest fight he had in his last fight. That guy's something. I'll give you a couple dudes seriously. The UFC broadcast was talking about CJ Vicari's coach and talking about, he's working with his coach and working on his wrestling. Then he mentioned Pete Spratt. Listen, Pete Spratt knows about as much about defensive wrestling as I do about world geography. Like, stop it, dude. Seriously. I'll do a good dude. Seriously. Michelle Pahez like choreographed dance. Like, dude, seriously?
Okay,
here's a TikTok video. That was fantastic, dude.
Here's the bad dude. Seriously, that guy, he left one of his real cornermen at home so that little cousin of his could come out and do that with him.
No way, really? Oh no, that's great. Whatever, dude. Like, he obviously didn't need he didn't need the corner. Like, I let it just sprinkled in. Like, I didn't know this. Oh, he used to be a dance instructor in Japan. I'm like, but it's a Brazilian guy being a dance instructor, Brazilian fighter being a dance instructor in Japan. Like,
seriously.
Yeah, dude. Seriously. I want to be very careful how I do this one. This is not bashing the kid that Jelton I made a fault, the Down syndrome kid. I'm not. That's a fantastic story. Good for that kid. I'm bashing DC. So DC's like, oh, Jelton is such a good dude. He's like, to bring the joy to the kid's face. Look at that smile right there. And they're showing the kid, and the kid's mean mugging. Like, he want to fight, so he's trying to like mean. I'm like, the kid wasn't smiled. Like, dude, seriously. The kid's like this. He's biting the mouthpiece. He's not even showing his teeth.
Come on, DC.
Like, dude, seriously. All right. Yeah, we already did the other ones. Let's do the Bulls and Bears real quick. The Bulls and Bears are you know what, dude? I actually really gotta go.
All right, man. Go. That's all right.
Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Ben, I'm going to be in Texas. Hit me up. Maybe I can steal my uncle's car and come visit you in Houston. So
outstanding, dude.
I'll be. You guys complain about staying late. I'm probably not going to sleep until like 12 hours from now or something like that. So, anyways, thank you so much, all you, Ben.
All right, man. I guess I should. Oh man, look, I have a random overlay. Anyway, welcome to the second half of this. I clearly should have cleaned up my office a little better. We're done with Dude Seriously. We are looking at Bulls and Bears. All right. What are we doing first? Bulls or Bears, guys? We'll do Bears. Bears, things whose stock is down. Stock down. Michal Oleksiejczuk carried a good win streak into his fight with Michel Pereira and just got shown up. Pereira had more routes to victory. Obviously he's an explosive striker, has shown flashes of really improved wrestling to the point that some of us in the Sherdog editorial chat were wondering where he ranks on the list of like best Brazilian wrestlers in MMA history. I mean, he's not the top, but he's up there, and gets choked all the way to sleep. Yeah, bad night for him. Anytime you have that kind of win streak snapped. Bears, Caitlin Sermonara. And I feel bad putting this one there because one, I mean, she's been out for over a year with health issues. Health issues related to trying to have a baby through IVF. And I'm only mentioning that because she's been open about it. But yeah, it would have been nice to see her come back and reestablish herself as not just a top 10, but like a top 3 fighter in the division. Losing to Macy Barber is no real shame. Losing the way she did, we'll get to that when we get to it. But just, this is the first time she's lost to someone that is not a champ, a former champ, or an obvious potential future champ. Like before this, she's lost to like Valentina Shevchenko, Jessica Andrade, Manon Fior. Here, Barber, I mean, she's definitely on the rise, but yeah, this might be the beginning of a slide for the former Ms. Chikagian. That'd be a shame. Oh, final Bear. People who won the first round. 5 fights in a row. like 6 out of 7 in a row involved a fighter coming back from a deficit to win. That makes for fun viewing, but yeah, not a great night to be the front runner after the first round. Bears from some of you. Tofu Bucket, Munoz, Moroz, and Holland. Cannot disagree with any of those. Damn, Dev. Bears making me watch your fights and learning to spell Chikagi and then changing your name. Oh, man. Bears from Chris Wiz. Burns, old, maybe not a contender anymore. Cheeto, broken face, won't get a title shot ever again. Both probably true. Almeida, hey, anytime you lose your first fight in like 6 years and you lose it the way he did, that's a rough look as well. Let's go over some bulls real quick. There we go. Bulls. Michael Page. It wasn't as huge a splash as he would have hoped, but considering how many highly touted free agent signings for the UFC just crapped the bed entirely in their debut, just getting a win and having it be a pretty entertaining fight is going to go down as a W for Mr. Page. Curtis Blades. For the foreseeable future, any fight Blades is in is a potential title eliminator. I mean, plunking Almeida just like it was a stock down moment for Almeida, a stock up moment for Blades, and we certainly saw a different side of him. The dude got taken down 8 or 9 times in the first round, managed to get the win anyhow. That certainly, it certainly challenges the assumption or the belief that he is a one-dimensional fighter. And Rubelas to Spain. He did exactly what was expected. I mean, on the preview, Keith and I both picked him my first round KO, and I literally picked him within the first minutes. It helps the Parisian served it up on a platter, but Despain has freaky physical tools and surprisingly good technique. That's going to make for a dangerous man at heavyweight. All right, let's go ahead and jump back onto the rest of the fights. So the top headliner, Blades versus Almeida. I picked Blades to knock out Almeida. I did not pick it to look like this. Almeida taking on maybe the greatest heavyweight wrestler in MMA history, put on a wrestling clinic heavy with mat returns. Took Blades down, and every time Blades got back up, took his back as he stood, tossed him back down, just rinse and repeat. Honestly, it looked a lot like what Almeida did to Derek Lewis, who is nobody's idea of one of the best wrestlers in the sport. I figured Blades was in some trouble unless Almeida really, really wore himself out. But beautiful job early in the second round. Pancakes a takedown attempt, stays heavy on him so Almeida can't go anywhere, and just hammer fists him to death. Brutal stuff from Curtis Blades. And as I said, anything like that is going to keep him in the title picture. He called for a fight with Tom Aspinall next. I mean, Aspinall is your interim champ. I like better a fight with Cyril Gane. That'll give Gane the chance to prove that he can deal with a determined wrestler. It would give Blades a chance to knock off one other guy and make himself just undeniable as the next title challenger. For Almeida, I don't think he should fall too far. He's older than you would think he is, but he still feels green in the game. He still feels like a guy who's developing. He's relatively new to the heavyweight division and still getting used to what's going to work for him there. I like him against another guy who was on a good win streak and just lost his last fight, Sergey Spivak. So give me Almeida versus Spivak. John Butterfield wants Gane versus Pavlovich in Paris, Aspinall versus Blades in London. I don't hate either of those. This is a weird thing to say about heavyweights, but there's actually a wealth of options in that top 7 or 8 where there are multiple things that kind of work. This is far removed from 2017 up to 2018 where literally anybody was 4 wins away from a title shot in that division. All of a sudden, there's a good handful of skilled fighters that are at least, say, under 38 or so. Aspinall said he was interested in the winner of the fight. I'm one of the people who's of the mind that the champ should have some say in who they fight next, so that has weight for me as well. Pavlovich versus Despain, can we please get that fight? I think Despain needs a couple more wins before he can ask for anything like that, or before he wants anything like that. But if it ever happens, please liquefy it and put it in my veins. Before that, Macy Barber versus Caitlin Sermonara. Barber was the favorite. I picked Sermonara. Keith picked Sermonara. For the record, we had 4 unanimous underdog picks tonight. We went 2 and 2. Michael Page, yes. Gilbert Burns, no. Curtis Blades, yes. Anyway, the problem for me was how quickly and easily Sermonara conceded a Macy Barber fight. Barber does her best work in close range, in the clinch, where she can kind of keep her hands on faster opponents, use her strength, her tenacity, and just her high motor to wear them down. I called her a female Diego Sanchez on the preview. I still stick with that. Normally, Caitlin Sermonara is a hard fighter to do that to. She manages to snake charm fighter after fighter to just fighting on the outside. She's already one of the longest, rangiest fighters in the division, and then manages to fight even a couple inches beyond that range because, of course, she famously lets out key eyes while throwing strikes that come up short. I was surprised from the first round on how much success Barber had at closing that distance, getting her hands on Caitlin, shoving her into the fence, and turning it into a Macy Barber fight. It ended up being competitive, and it ended up being more entertaining than most Caitlin Sermonara fights. But yeah, that's a good look for Barber, who has now won 6 in a row. Bad look for Sermonara, who again has been the second or third best woman in this division for what feels like its entire existence, and may finally be showing signs of slipping from there. Dane Fox, less diplomatic than me. Sermonara fought stupidly. That's it. Either she fought stupidly or she's lost the wherewithal to impose that on other people. Like, maybe everyone stopped being mystified by her during that 15 months away. If it is because she wanted to show that she become a better wrestler and clinch fighter, then yeah, that is extra dumb. Next for these two, honestly, this is the weird thing. And this is why I hate that Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko are going to be on tough, because it means that nobody else is going to get a title shot for at least a year. Meanwhile, these are the streaks that some of the people in that division are sitting on. Erin Blanchfield, 6 wins in a row. Manon Fior, 6 wins in a row. Tracy Cortez, 5. Natalia Silva, 5. Karini Silva and Ariane Lipsky, 3 each. Barber now has 6 in a row. So you're ending up with this division where there's just a queue of people on impressive win streaks, and none of them are going to get a title shot. Like, all the women I just named are probably going to fight 2 or 3 more times before they get a shot at the winner of the tough, 32 or whatever it is, coaches fight. Terrible idea. Get rid of tough, please. Anyway, because of that, some of these women are going to have to fight each other. Blanchfield and Fior are about to fight, so somebody's 6-fight win streak is about to be snapped. I say give Barber the winner of that, or give her any of the others. Cortez, either of the Silvas, Lipsky. For Sermonara, she needs a chance to prove that this was a one-off poor performance. Some other rising prospect deserves a chance to prove that she belongs in the top 10. I say let Caitlin Sermonara fight Miranda Maverick. That would also be hilarious because of the height difference. I like that. Before that, Mateusz Gamrot versus Rafael dos Anjos. I will say this. Gamrot won. I thought he won. He deserved to win, like rightly so. Rafael dos Anjos looked great at lightweight. For a guy who was dropping back down after a couple of years away, and he's pushing 40, he looked fantastic. Out-wrestled Gamrot for stretches of this fight, and Gamrot is a fantastic wrestler. Held his own in the striking. I mean, he's not quite the machine he was on the feet 7 or 8 years ago, but he's still right there. He's a decent pocket boxer, good power, still quicker than you'd expect at age 39. Yeah, he looked great. If he wants to stick around at lightweight, give him another chance to knock off another rising fighter. Mateus Rebeski and Joel Alvarez are fighting next month, maybe the winner of that. For Gamrot, Gamrot's problem is, for as short a time as he's been in the UFC, he's fought a ton of the guys in the top 15 when you look at it. He might be one of those guys that if he ever did make it to the title, by the time he gets there, he's already looking at a rematch tour. At UFC 300, Moicano and Jalen Turner are fighting. Gamrot's already fought Turner, but Gamrot versus Moicano. If Moicano wins, I like that. Otherwise, Gamrot versus Hooker works for me. Yeah. Dane Fox says RDA versus Grant Dawson. I don't hate that at all. Anthony Tardif, the winner of Jim Miller versus Bobby Green. The RDA that we saw tonight, I think, schools the winner of Jim Miller versus Bobby Green, but it'd be age appropriate. Gamrot rematch versus Benil. I mean, I try to avoid rematches unless there's a real good reason, but their first fight was a great one, so I don't hate that. Before that, Pedro Munoz versus Kyler Phillips. This is about as good as Kyler Phillips has looked to me. He's always been a little disappointing to me. A guy with the combination of physical attributes and skills to be not only dazzling and entertaining, but very competitive. And through a combination of questionable fight IQ and quite a few injury or PED related absences, has never quite delivered. Like, I want him to be Sean O'Malley light, and he's not even Sean O'Malley 0. But here tonight, this is about as good as I've ever seen him look at 135. Fought a very game and seemingly ageless Pedro Munoz, and was active, aggressive, threw enough volume, was elusive, didn't let any of Munoz's best skills really get untracked. Like, he didn't fall victim to Munoz's leg kicks. He did a good job of kind of staying out of the grappling with him. Good stuff from Kyler Phillips. And he's young enough that there's a possibility that if this is a whole turn for him, he could actually be a contender and prove me wrong. I'd love to be wrong about that. Having said that, this was a competitive enough fight, and 135 is a deep enough division that I can't really push Phillips that far up the ladder in his next fight. I was thinking someone kind of like him, who is stringing together some wins but doesn't fight often enough. Ayman Zahabi just knocked a man dead last week. I think Zahabi versus Phillips works. For Munoz, like, maybe Figueiredo if he loses to Garbrandt, because I mean, if Figueiredo loses to Garbrandt, then his former flyweight champ cachet is not going to stand him in very good stead, and he's probably going to be looking pretty old. So maybe Figueiredo versus Munoz, or maybe Hani Yahya and Victor Henry are fighting later next month as well. Maybe one of the people coming out of that fight. Oh, before that, Iwan Kudalaba took on Felipe Lins. This is, oh man, Keith already talked about it a little bit. Kudalaba is quietly, I think, one of the biggest underachievers in modern UFC history. A guy with his physical attributes and his skill set should not be 6-9 with one no contest in the UFC, or 6-9-1 in the UFC. He just shouldn't. He's huge. He's athletic. He hits like a truck. He is a very good wrestler. And as Devin Tejada said, 205 is already the low fight IQ division, and Kudalaba is scraping the bottom of the barrel there. Like, it's bad. He had all the skills to beat Lins. He's at least as big and strong. He's younger, faster, and he lost. And he lost just moment by moment, just trying to swing at the wrong time, trying to wrestle at the wrong time. He's capable of being a more composed striker than he was tonight, but he just kind of reverted to single huge shots trying to knock Linz out. It was just a bad performance. Like I'm not suddenly a believer in the 39-year-old Linz because of this fight, but I think Linz beats Kudalaba like 8 times out of 10 just because Kudalaba finds ways to lose. Yeah. Well, except that Munoz still looks good and Iwan just doesn't. I don't have much else to say about that one. Before that, Michel Pereira versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. Pereira is a whole lot of fun, and he is a guy with more competitive relevance than I would have guessed when he came to the UFC. He has now won, I think, 6 in a row. Only the last 2 of them at 185, but he has looked, if anything, more dominant at 185. Like, since moving up from 170, he starched Andre Petroski. He throttled Michal Oleksiejczuk, and Oleksiejczuk was on a 4 or 5 fight win streak of his own. He was looking really good. He seemed to have found a new lease on life in this division. Yeah, Pereira, despite it all, still just 30 years old. That's also unbelievable. Yeah, with each successive win, he proves himself more than just a sideshow. That's great. Speaking of things that may be just a sideshow or maybe more, Robelis to Spain, Josh Parisian. Here's the thing. Parisian handed him this fight on a silver platter, and nonetheless, Despain managed to slip and fall and get himself into a moment where Parisian was actually kind of on him and landed a shot. It's hard to have a good scouting report on the guy. Again, he went like 4 minutes and 40 seconds in his first fight, and none of his fights since then have gone 20 seconds. But one thing we can definitely say is that for a guy with the kind of reach he has, and as soon as he stepped in the octagon for the first time, he was neck and neck with Alexander Volkov for like the tallest, rangiest heavyweight in the UFC. You can tell that he's really good at generating power at short range. And what that means is there are going to be fewer safe places for his opponents to hide. Like, there's always the thing with tall fighters that, okay, if you can get inside, you can have success against them there. That may not be the case against Despain. He is capable of just icing people with short hooks, or even with kicks that strike like surprisingly close for a guy with legs as long as his. He's really dangerous. Eventually, he's going to come up against a guy that's durable enough and is actually going to test his takedown defense, or hell, is going to just walk in and try to test his chin. It wasn't going to be Josh Parisian, but he's going to run into one soon. This is not the heavyweight division of just 6 or 7 years ago. There is a little more skill, at least once you get into that top 10. He's 2 wins away from it. So, it'll be fun for as long as it lasts. He's 34. That's not ideal, but it's not old for heavyweight. He could literally perform at this same level or better for the next 5 years, and at some kind of reasonably high level for another 10. So he's got all the time in the world. I look forward to his next fight. Before that, CJ Vergara versus Asu Almabayev. Vergara. Oh, John Butterfield says he's 35. Thank you. Vergara versus Almabayev. Vergara missed weight. That's never a good look. He's missed weight multiple times. Almabayev looked pretty good. Good night, Dev. The speed differential between him and Vergara was impressive. Vergara made it interesting late, although I hesitate to credit the durability and cardio of the guy that missed weight. So make of that what you will. Almabayev basically just outclassed him. I mean, for the most part, he looked like a minus 500 favorite should, just kind of better than Vergara everywhere. And yeah, he's an interesting prospect in the division. Marcus Mustard says Almabayev is handsome. I am not the best judge, but I mean, Gennady Golovkin, yeah, he's a cute dude. First fight of the night, Joanne Wood in her retirement fight against Marina Moroz. If you listen to the preview, this is, of course, the joke I made. It was good to see Joanne Wood go out on a win. And frustrating to see her go out on a win by doing things that if she had done them more often, she'd be a lot better than 500 in the UFC. Like, she beat Moroz because she was aggressive. She threw enough volume. Like, her route to victory was going to be to piece Moroz up at range, because Moroz is slow but strong, a willing but very rudimentary striker, and a very good grappler. Like, Wood just cutting Moroz up at range, showing some power, even like kind of hurting her late with that spinning strike. Yeah, it was good stuff. Like, even at her best, I don't think Wood would have been a champ at 115 or 125. But if she'd fought like this more often, she would have been the type of fighter that the UFC could have kept in contention and kept mystifyingly in headliners and in like co-main events of fight night cards forever. She could have been at least in that same realm with Michelle Waterson Gomez, where the marketable and charismatic striker, wins enough to keep in the spotlight. But yeah, JoJo retired tonight for sure. She said ahead of it that she was going to. She confirmed it. So as far as we know, she is out of the sport, which means we'll see her in BKFC against Britton Hart in about 6 months. That's it. That's the entire card of UFC 299. This has been Ben Duffy. He was Keith Shillan. He's on his way to my neck of the woods. Maybe he and I will link up at some point in the next week. But thank all of you for watching. I give this card, man, I give it an A. It was a hell of a card. We had a few upsets. We had, again, a ton of comebacks. We had some gnarly finishes and no really terrible fights. Like, even the Caitlin Sermonara fight wasn't that bad, it's a good night of fights. Yeah, I give this one an A. Like, let me know what grade you would give it. I'm not even going to pick a listener of the night. I'm going to cop out. I apologize. I just love all of you too much. Next up is, I forget which fight night it even is. That's why I forgot, because it's Tuivasa versus Tybura. All right. I know the preview for that one is coming out. It's going to be out a day late. Normally, Keith and I record on Sundays. This Sunday, I begged off because all that music I've been teasing at the tail end of our previews, that album, we have our final mixing session before we send it off to be mastered. So look for that one overnight, Monday night, Tuesday morning. Keith was kind enough to agree to record with me late. But anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.